A quiet decision inside a Manhattan skyscraper may have just triggered the first spark of a financial event we only see once every few decades. Because when America's biggest bank, Morgan, secretly amasses 169 million ounces of physical silver, a question immediately emerges. What do they know that the rest of the world doesn't? This is not a rumor, not a conspiracy, not a late-night Reddit fantasy. This is one of the largest single accumulations of silver in modern financial history. And when a bank like Morgan starts stockpiling one specific metal at a breakneck pace, it usually means something enormous is coming. To understand why this quiet hoarding of silver is sending shockwaves across trading desks, we need to step back in time, far back, over a century, to an era when the United States was still figuring out what money truly was. The late 1800s were a chaotic, unpredictable age. Railroads cut across the frontier. Newly minted millionaires walked the streets with the confidence of kings. And deep beneath the mountains of Colorado and Nevada, silver mines were exploding with production. At the center of this financial storm stood a man whose influence would echo into the 21st century, JPMorgan. Morgan wasn't a man of loud speeches or dramatic flair. He was quiet, calculating, intense. Rivals often said he had the stare of a hawk and the patience of a hunter. But what truly separated him from the rest of the Wall Street titans was a single belief: control the metal, and you control the money. Control the money, and you control the future. During the silver panic of 1893, the United States nearly collapsed under the weight of political infighting over silver. Farmers demanded more silver coinage. Bankers demanded gold. Anger filled the streets. Markets melted down. And through it all, JPMorgan almost single-handedly stabilized the American financial system. He understood what few people did at the time. Silver is not just a metal, it's a trigger. Fast forward more than 120 years. Morgan's empire still stands, stronger than ever, larger than ever, more influential than ever. And today, it is repeating a pattern that echoes the earliest days of American finance, accumulating silver, quietly, methodically, and in quantities the modern world has never seen. But the real question is not how much silver Morgan accumulated, it's why. To answer that, we have to understand how the modern silver market transformed into a ticking time bomb. In the early 2000s, the powerful forces began reshaping the demand for silver. The first force was industrialization. Silver became essential to electronics, solar panels, medical equipment, electric vehicles, and advanced batteries. Every year, industries needed more and more. Silver was no longer just a shiny store of value, it was technology's secret ingredient. The second force was financialization. Banks began trading silver using paper contracts, derivatives, futures, promises of silver that often never existed physically. This created an illusion of abundance. There appeared to be tons of silver available, but much of it was just numbers on a screen. This imbalance between physical silver and paper silver is where everything begins to crack. Because when Morgan started accumulating silver around 2011, they didn't buy contracts. They bought the real metal. Coins, bars, industrial-grade bullion, anything that could be stacked in a vault. They bought quietly, under the radar, while Wall Street was distracted by stocks and crypto. Reports began circulating through commodity markets. Morgan now has more silver than some governments. Traders whispered about vaults in New York, London, and Chicago filling with metal. Analysts estimated the total around 169 million ounces, a number so large it could shake the entire global silver supply. Here's why that matters. Silver is unique among precious metals. Unlike gold, which mostly sits in vaults collecting dust, silver gets used up. It's put into circuit boards, solar cells, EV batteries, and medical instruments. And most of it is never recycled. It disappears into landfills. That means every year, the amount of available silver shrinks, but demand rises. This is the recipe for a future shortage. And history shows that shortages in silver don't happen gradually, they snap like a tension wire. Now imagine the global silver market as a fragile dam. Behind the dam are billions of ounces of paper silver, contracts promising silver delivery in the future. In front of the dam is the real-world manufacturers, miners, investors, all fighting for the actual metal. For years, the dam held. Most people trading silver never asked for physical delivery. They traded contracts, not coins. But then, the world changed. Solar demand skyrocketed, electric vehicles surged, nations fought for energy security. Suddenly, the physical silver supply began draining much faster than it could be replaced, and the dam started to crack. Now imagine what happens if too many people demand physical silver. At once, mines cannot produce enough. Inventories are already shrinking. Mints report delays. Warehouses say supplies are tight. At that moment, the price of silver cannot rise slowly, it must spike dramatically just to find willing sellers. This is how a squeeze begins. And this is precisely why JPMorgan's stockpile matters. In a world where physical silver becomes scarce, the institution that controls the largest pile holds incredible power. But let's go deeper, because the real danger is in industrial demand. The real danger is the paper market. The silver market has been propped up for years by the belief that futures contracts represent real metal. But if even a fraction of the buyers demanded delivery, the system would fracture instantly. There's far more silver promised on paper than silver that physically exists. It's like selling 100 concert tickets for a theater with only 30 seats and praying not everyone shows up. History shows what happens when this delicate balance breaks. In 1980, the Hunt brothers, the wealthy oil magnates, tried to corner the silver market. They bought physical silver, just like Morgan. Prices exploded 700% in months. The government stepped in. Prices crashed. Then, decades later in 2020, during the pandemic, physical silver demand surged again. Dealers ran out. For the first time in history, wholesalers used the phrase, "We are out of silver," until further notice. The cracks in the dam were widening. Now combine all of that with the present moment. Electric vehicle manufacturers need more silver every quarter. Solar panel production is hitting record highs. Semiconductor demand is exploding. Governments are quietly building strategic reserves. This is why JPMorgan's accumulation is so important. They are preparing for a world where physical silver is more valuable than paper silver, and potentially more valuable than most investors realize. This brings us to the looming breaking point. Let's imagine a realistic scenario, one many analysts fear. Industrial demand increases 12 to 15% because of EV adoption. Solar manufacturers begin hoarding silver because they fear future shortages. Governments start buying strategic metal reserves. Investors rush in because inflation rises. Suddenly, thousands of buyers want silver, but miners cannot produce it fast enough. Paper contract holders want delivery, but vaults don't have enough to satisfy all of them. The result is a classic commodity squeeze. Prices don't just rise, they erupt. 100%, 200%, 300%, even 500% increases are possible under this kind of structural pressure. And here is where JPMorgan becomes the kingmaker. They hold the largest private silver supply in the world. If the squeeze begins, they can choose to release silver slowly, controlling the pace of the price rise, or hold it, letting the market explode. Either move gives them enormous influence. This isn't just financial strategy. It's power, raw, historical, JPMorgan-style power, echoing straight from the Gilded Age. But silver isn't just about markets. It's about emotion. Financial history is built on fear, greed, panic, and ambition. These emotions drove the silver panic of 1893. They drove the Hunt brothers squeeze in 1980. They fueled the retail silver rush in 2020. And today, those same emotions are heating up again. Investors fear missing the next massive commodity cycle. Manufacturers fear losing supply. Traders fear being caught on the wrong side of a contract. Governments fear losing access to strategic metals. Silver, more than almost any asset, exposes the psychology of markets. When fear hits silver, prices move fast. When greed hits silver, prices move violently. So what does history tell us? It tells us that silver crises happen when three forces collide: political instability, industrial shortages, and paper market stress. And astonishingly, all three forces are happening at the same time today. Inflation is destabilizing currencies. Green energy demand is swallowing physical silver, and derivatives markets are stretched thin. This alignment does not happen often. When it does, the result is usually a historic price event. This is why JPMorgan's 169 million ounces matter more today than ever before. They are not preparing for small fluctuations. They are preparing for a structural transition where silver transforms from a simple commodity into a strategic lifeline of modern technology. In a world powered by solar panels, AI chips, EVs, and advanced batteries, silver becomes as essential as oil was in the 20th century, and the institution holding the most silver becomes incredibly influential when the crunch hits. So the real question before us is not why did JPMorgan buy so much silver? That part is obvious. They see what is coming. They see a future where physical silver is scarce. They see a market built on fragile paper promises. They see demand rising far faster than supply. They see the crack in the dam widening. The real question is, what happens when everyone else finally realizes that the world simply doesn't have enough silver for everyone? Because at that moment, the squeeze doesn't start slowly. It starts explosively. Prices jump, contracts fail, inventories vanish, and the precious metal that has been ignored for years suddenly becomes the center of global financial attention. If history repeats, and it usually does, this squeeze could become one of the most dramatic financial events of the decade. And here is the final, chilling thought. In every silver crisis in history, one lesson always emerges. The people who hold real metal win. The ones holding paper lose. That pattern has never changed. It didn't change in 1893. It didn't change in 1980. It didn't change in 2020. And when the next squeeze hits in a world more dependent on silver than ever before, it likely won't change then either. So as Morgan sits silently atop its mountain of silver, the world keeps moving forward, unaware that the next chapter of financial history may already be unfolding. The signs are there, the pressure is building, and the patterns of the past are repeating almost perfectly. The only question now is this: will the world wake up before the dam breaks, or after?